Hey friends, Thanksgiving is behind us and Christmas is just ahead, and we're excited about this holiday season. But we want to talk today about the early Christmas gift that Joe Biden gave to his son Hunter, the presidential pardon, and there's so many issues that we need to talk about biblically from what just happened, from the value of truth-telling. What does it mean to be a good parent? What does it mean not to be above the law? So many things that we need to talk about that relates to good public policy and ties together our Christian worldview. So anyway, we encourage you to tune in today. It's going to be an insightful podcast, and I know you're going to enjoy it.
Hey, welcome to the Ron Johnson Discipleship Podcast.
Hey, we're so glad that you are listening in. It's always a treat for us, and that's one of the things. When I was thinking about all the things I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for our listeners. Every week on Sunday mornings, usually I'll have somebody pull my arm and mention that they love watching the podcast, and it always encourages us, because I know it'd be a bummer if you and I were the only ones that ever watched it. Or I don't know that I sit around watching our own podcast.
Yeah, because we know what we're saying.
We know what we're saying. Yeah. But anyway, so during this holiday season, thank you guys for tuning in and just for helping us get the word out as we're endeavoring each week to get back to our main focus here, which is simply trumpeting the good news of a biblical worldview, that it makes sense out of life. Makes the most sense out of life, and it just helps us understand the complexity, I guess, of the world in which we're trying to navigate. So that's our goal every week. If you're looking for folks that are hungry for truth, hungry for a biblical worldview, and all of that, encourage them to tune in on the podcast. I'm also wearing, it is the most wonderful time of the year. Mm-hmm. The good news of great joy for all people is Christmas season upon us now that we're out of Thanksgiving. And which, another side note here, we are out of Thanksgiving now in November, and now it's officially okay to celebrate Christmas. Do you guys celebrate pre-Thanksgiving or?
We actually got our Christmas tree the day before Thanksgiving.
All right.
And the reason for that is because of traffic. We don't want to deal with long lines the day after Christmas. But I am a big fan of giving each season their due.
Yeah.
So I don't really like when people start putting Christmas decoration out pre-Thanksgiving, though I do have a lot of detractors in my circle of friends.
I'm with you. Let's make sure we focus in on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
it's a great
moment,
holiday. Black Friday hits right after you just wiped your mouth of the Thanksgiving gravy.
And Black Friday is being less and less an event because it starts 3 months before Thanksgiving now, right?
Exactly.
But, I got friends who are celebrating Christmas in March. They're 8 months beforehand. They're like, winter's over. It's time to put the Christmas tree out. I'm like, come on, man. It's not special anymore.
At least get past Thanksgiving. And we are past Thanksgiving. And,
right.
and I wish, we're not going to show off all the beauty of our lobby here, but yesterday it's one of my favorite times of the year when we just invite the church family out to begin pulling out the Christmas trees from the attic and decorating the building here for the holidays.
This is the first time in our new sanctuary, our new foyer. It looks amazing. And Matthew, our creative director, I'm sure designed and, place everything out and look at those banners. It looks amazing.
You guys are going to have to wait till Sunday, but make sure when you come in, you look up to the heavens, because it's definitely looking incredibly gorgeous.
I feel like we're like
here.
Macy's or something.
Yeah, exactly.
We need people with a tray of perfume for people to pass by to
fragrance
spray people.
For the holidays. Anyway, we're not going to have perfume, but we do have these little numbers right here. All right, if you guys are looking for a great holiday gift, these hoodies are amazing, $40, and they're going like hotcakes. Matthew, do you know how many roughly we have sold? Couple hundred we've sold. There you go. So, but we do have more left all right, more left. Good. So anyway, speaking of Christmas gifts, the Biden family received an early Christmas. I mean, they're jumping in way early. In fact, I believe it was Sunday night, the time when the news cycle is least watched and paid attention to. That was when a former president or current president or whatever he is, Biden, decided to give a holiday gift to his son, Hunter. Let's talk about that. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but
Who knows what happened?
I think if you really read between the lines of mainstream media, you could have predicted what's coming. I think Vivek predicted months ago, saying, "Hey, right now, for him to pardon Hunter will be terrible for the election, terrible for the Democrats. So he's going to wait till after the election. Depending on who wins. Now, if Trump wins, he's most definitely going to pardon Hunter Biden. So to me, it wasn't a huge surprise, but it is a huge surprise to mainstream media, to the people who watch mainstream media.
Yeah, I guess there's so many levels we could discuss from a biblical worldview perspective.
Yeah.
The first one, I guess, to start with would be like, how about the principle that our highest leader in the land should be a person of their word? And again, I put this as a general principle because whenever you bring up something like, oh, well, President Biden lied. Oh, well, what about? And then we got 14 other
George
examples.
Washington lied too.
Yeah. We're not talking about. It doesn't remove the point by blaming 1,000 other people for being liars. The point. This is where I guess the biblical worldview comes in. There is a righteous standard, and that righteous standard is God Almighty, who never lies, and who commands us to be men and women of integrity. And so I can't remember. I think Biden's press secretary denied the fact that he would ever think about pardoning Hunter like 5 or 6 times during one of those press conferences. The president himself denied that he would ever think about reversing course or letting his son off the hook. And yet, that's exactly what happened. Some were on the Republican side were saying we knew it. That's no surprise. Biden's not kept his word or been a man of his word throughout his entire presidency. Others were shocked. They gave him the benefit of the doubt. Even some Democrats came out and said this is a really, really bad thing. Well, it's a bad precedent.
I think there's a difference between lying and being deceptive. And this is where there's a little nuance, okay? If you caught me with, if you like call me out for I stole some money or whatever, did you steal the money? I'm like, no, I didn't. That's lying. That's not good. That's a sin. That's bad, right?
Right.
But that's to me different than a political leader with ulterior motives, with agenda, saying, "Hey, for months I'm not going to do this," and even though you know you're going to do it, everyone knows you're going to do it. You already plan to do it, but you're putting a political front up to say, I'm going to do that. That to me is deception. It's more than just lying. I mean, we all lie sometimes, especially when we're kids, we lie but that's different from just like all out manipulation and deceptions. So I think there's a distinction there.
Right. The lying under the, oh my goodness, I got caught,
Yeah.
I got to protect myself, I tell the lie versus a skillfully crafted plan to deceive. And I agree with you, that takes it to a whole other level, especially for the highest leader of the land, the leader of the free world. I mean, you're in a position where you need to inspire a sense of trust in government. And so number one is just the whole thing about be someone who keeps your word, in whatever you do. If you say you're going to do it publicly, then do it. If you say you're not going to do it, don't do it, because that right there undermines credibility for leaders, and I think it undermines the whole political system, which is why we've said it's very refreshing when you actually find somebody that runs on a platform like I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then they do it. I mean, that inspires confidence in the people who elected you, and it puts fear in your enemies because they know, okay, oh my gosh, he said he's going to do it. He's going to do it.
It makes election meaningful again. Again, I will say this one more time. I'd rather vote for someone who I don't completely agree with, but who's true to what they say they're going to do, than someone who's going to agree everything to my face, right? Who's going to promise me the world, like many Republicans, but once they get in the office, they stab you in the back, or they do whatever they want. I can't handle that. I'd rather have someone who says, I agree with you 50% of the time, and the other 50 I don't. These 50% I'm going to do. That gives me stability. That makes me, when I vote, I can make a coherent decision. What these deceptions, I don't even call it lying. What these deceptions do is it undermines our faith in government, our faith in the election system, our faith that we are connected to the government. The government is just a ruling class doing their own thing. You can tell I'm very passionate about this, because what this does is make people disengaged, and they say, what's the point anyway? And next thing we know, we lose our ability to even govern ourselves.
Right. It's like we go back to the monarchy that we tried to, revolt from to become a government by the people and for the people. We're not seeing that right now. As you said, we have an elite class, and I think the American people have reached a place where we're just, sick of it. Even when it came to the reporting of this last election, the legacy media was, the election is so close, it's a toss-up. Trump won every swing state. He won by a huge electoral margin, and popular vote margin as well. So basically, again, the legacy media was lying to us and using their power to create a scenario that just simply wasn't true.
Yeah,
and again, that back to the principle, being a people of your word. We saw it in the drug company, with the whole COVID thing, the lying to us about the efficacy of the medication, the vaccine, the masking, all that kind of social distancing, everything. The whole thing was lie. And when you build your culture and your government and everything, institutions that you once trusted around lies, the people get fed up with it, and I think that was proven in this last election.
Well, you mentioned the polling. I follow Rasmussen Report. I follow Rich Bear's People's Pundit. Why? Because they are true. They are true to their word. They're nonpartisan. When they do a poll, they tell you the results, whether they like it or not. They have their own personal leaning. It doesn't matter. Later, we found out that internal polling, external polling, all these different pollsters have never truly measured Harris being up that much. It was all deceptive. It's not even a lie. It was a deceptive campaign. Yep. The most
to your point again, it wasn't just we
messed up,
or we're not going to tell you the truth here for whatever reason. It was a strategy.
Yes.
And that takes the corruption to a whole deeper level, because you realize, oh no, we know we're lying, and we're lying on purpose, and here's why we're lying, and here's our plan on why we're lying. Well, that's a whole nother level of wickedness.
And I think Gallup, the original founder of Gallup, made a point. He made a statement a long time ago. I don't know if he's still alive today. Basically saying, when we lose trust in our polling, we don't know where people lean on any issues. That's scary, because not everything's decided on election day. Say we do a polling on abortion. They could lie all they want, and next thing you know, we don't really know what's the public sentiment on abortion. We don't know what the public sentiment on higher taxes. They could just, how scary that gets when the polling companies are captured, like the media company and big government, are captured by the same voices. Then we don't even know what people really think.
Which again, I think one of the most strategic acts of the mercy of God on the rest of us is the fact that Elon Musk purchased Twitter, with now X, because it just, what we're seeing is, between the podcasters and the social media platforms that have freedom now, we're really bypassing legacy media because there's absolutely no trust at all. Even the way they spun this Hunter Biden situation was incredible. Joe Biden spun it. He said Hunter has been free, substance abuse free, for 5.5 years, which I don't know if that's a lie, but if it is true, then great. We all celebrate that. Nobody's out to get, Hunter Biden in, and nobody wants to see him destroyed by crack cocaine or whatever else he was addicted to. We would celebrate that. Yeah, that's a good win. But to suggest that all these investigations that took time and money, congressional investigations, which exposed that what he was actually convicted of was the tip of the iceberg to the Biden, family business empire, which was rooted in incredible corruption. I think and I've got the data here, but it was between $20 and $30 million that was going to the Biden family, members of the Biden family, for using basically their access, their name, their positions of power for their own benefit. And again, this is corruption. This violates your call to be a public servant, to honor the Constitution. Now you're compromised. Your integrity is compromised. You're willing to lie, cheat, and steal to basically bring wealth to your family in ways that are wicked. You're using your position, and you're betraying the American people. I look at all this crazy money that we've sent to Ukraine, including right now, well, we have Americans. We have a team, in North Carolina helping out with the relief there. There's almost been nothing done to help those poor people who are American citizens, our fellow citizens, while at the same time, our lame duck president is wanting to send more billions of dollars to Ukraine. It doesn't make any sense when we're not even taking care of our own people. But this is corruption. It stinks to high heaven. We uncovered all these shell companies that the Bidens had created to launder the money. It was a racketeering operation, and it was all uncovered by these investigations, by congressional hearings. And so all of this was getting ready to hit the fan, or should be hitting the fan now that the Trump administration is coming on board. And we have this convenient pardon. Now, let's talk about the pardon itself.
Yeah.
Because the pardon itself was highly unusual.
Highly unusual.
And the way that it...
Yeah, it wasn't pardon a certain crime. It pardoned 10 years, the last 10 years of our history of the crimes.
Interestingly enough, as we point out, it started 10 years ago, exactly at the time when his son received this appointment to serve on the Burisma Energy Company, a Ukraine company. And Hunter Biden has no experience at all in the energy field. And I think he was making $833,000 a month for sitting on that board. Think about $833,000 a month. So anyway, it conveniently started 10 years ago. What is that? And
pardon for crimes that he may or may not have committed. It's like it's the ultimate get out of jail card, right? We play Monopoly. Like it's like whatever will happen. That's pardon. And you and I were talking about a little bit of this before. We're not historians. I'm not exactly sure the original intent of the pardon.
Yeah.
But I cannot imagine the power of the pardon was given for a purpose like this.
Certainly not to give a get out of jail free card to one of your own family members who use their position to benefit not only themselves financially at the expense of the American people, but to benefit the President of the United States, the big guy. Mm-hmm. Who it was clear in these investigations that was referring to, at that time, Vice President Biden, who was using his position to, again, bring wealth to his own family and abusing that position. So, this is where it gets to be disgusting, is because there's a clear timeline in which not only is the son exempt, but the dad is exempt. And this should, both of them, my humble opinion, both of them should be in jail for a long time. And I was reading here, Hunter was convicted for 3 felonies, 6 misdemeanors, related to $1.4 million in unpaid taxes. And he was sentenced up to 42 years in prison, and yet they said he would likely have served 52 months. Now, how do you get your sentence reduced from 42 years to 52 months when, this is just tax evasion? He also had federal charges, again, on possessing of a firearm. None of this got into his abuse, and taking millions of dollars, creating all the shell companies to go straight back to the family. So, again, the two-tiered system of justice, again, it just reeks to high heaven. And that brought up another issue we are going to talk about that's related to this, and that is, what is justice? Biden spun this. He said, you're trying to break my son. It's clear that you are attacking him just because he's my son, and you're trying ultimately to break me. Now, okay, let's talk about justice for a moment. Is President Biden fair? I mean, was this pick on my son? Pick on me? Was this politically motivated? And it seems like nowadays, depending on who's in the White House, as soon as we try to get justice on somebody who has violated the rule of law, now it gets a political spin. So here's another question. What is justice?
Well, it's an interesting question because, it's easy for us to harp on Hunter Biden and say, well, it's a miscarriage of justice. No one's above the law. And then someone else can say, well, on your side, you did this, blah, 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 blah. Here's my argument. I think it's a very coherent argument why this is a violation of justice. Joe Biden, for months and months, have said, I will not pardon my son. He has said that over and over again.
Yeah.
The reason he said over and over again is because he himself has recognized that if he has pardoned his son, it will be a breach of justice. That's why he politically cannot say that. He, through his spokesperson, through whatever, he has told everyone, I will not pardon him, because he recognized, the media recognized, independents recognized, Republicans, Democrats, everyone recognized that if he pardoned his son, it will be a breach of justice.
Because no one is above the law. Now, that's a principle, that the rule of law that has been a foundational and biblical principle from the beginning.
Right. So even Joe Biden himself has agreed that pardoning his son will be a violation of justice. So it's not me saying it. It's himself saying it. Now, my question is, what has happened since then and now that says all of a sudden things got to change and I got to pardon my son now? The winning of Donald Trump to the White House. Right? So that is the difference maker. That difference maker should not be the factor for you to decide what is justice and injustice. That would be my argument of why this is a breach of justice.
Well, what else is amazing to me is he's saying that his son was targeted just for being his son. But Merrick Garland was directing the Department of Justice, and so he's basically saying the person I appointed to uphold justice in this country, the highest form of justice across the board, is picking on my son. I mean, he didn't make that argument back and he could have done something about it. Now, he could have fired him.
If pardoning his son is a just thing to do, he would have pardoned him 6 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever it is. He's waiting till the very end because it's a political move. That's why I think everyone should be able to agree that this is a breach of justice.
Because it's, at the end of the day, it is purely political. Yep. And it is also giving some space, again, between justice reaching the doorsteps of Biden's doorstep, again, with just the family corruption, the lying, the pattern that we've seen of benefiting himself, using the highest office in the land to benefit himself, which is disgusting. Yep. So again, the nature of the pardon was wrong. Let's talk about a third issue as it relates to biblical worldview. Here's an article that said, no, the Hunter pardon doesn't make Joe Biden a good parent. Let me ask you, if your son has a rap sheet and is going to spend time in jail for what he's done, are you being a good parent to say, you know what, I don't want my son to be in jail. I don't want my son to have to spend years, in a federal penitentiary because of what he's done. I love my son, and I want to shield my son and protect my son. And if he truly has been drug and alcohol free for 5.5 years, addiction free, then this could be something that pushes him over the edge. And so I'm going to be a good parent, and I'm going to give him a get out of jail free card for Christmas. Is that being a good parent?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, again, I can't throw an easy answer out there, but my son is not convicted of all these felonies, and my son's 10.
And certainly you would have compassion for your son.
Absolutely.
No one's questioning that.
Do I want my son to go to jail and be in jail for 4 years or whatever, or 42 years? No, I don't. But this is a loaded question. If it's similar to the question, if my son stole something from the grocery store and I found out about it, what do I do? What does a good dad do? Does he cover her up, or does he take him? I mean, I was at getting my Christmas tree, and we're in the little shop area with other families looking at Christmas ornament, and there was another family there, and one of the kids grabbed an ornament and dropped it and broke it, and she was willing to put it back, and the father says, no, we broke it, we have to pay for it, so go grab the other one. Let's go to the counter.
What a great lesson.
We broke this, and we're going to. And the lady, they were so nice. She was like, "Oh no, it's okay." Blah 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 blah. I don't know. They end up paying for whatever. But he acted like a dad, a good dad.
I got a funny story. Yeah. I'm out in my front yard, and my neighbor is driving her new van across front of my house, and she says, when I was driving by, I felt something hit my car. I heard like a thud on my car. Are any of your kids out, playing ball? Or she said it was a little white streak. Were any of your kids hitting golf balls? And all of a sudden, in my mind, I'm like, I just had this discussion with one of my children. Hit the golf ball out in the 20 acres. We have 20 acres. Hit the golf ball that way. and only use a wedge. Don't be hitting a driver because you're going to put a golf ball off somebody's window. You know, you might
This
hit the
before we
Ming's
had the new
house.
building.
Yeah,
right?
before we had the new
This
building.
one we had a ton. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I put one and one together and got two out of it, and I realized, So I went around, and sure enough, one of my sons was out practicing his golf game, and
Remains unnamed.
hit one. Yeah, remains unnamed. Hit one over the house, and did a one hop off the side of this lady's brand new van, and a real sweet neighbor lady of ours. And I said, "Hey, we're going to walk down to their house, and we're going to apologize, and we're going to do whatever it takes to fix the scratch whatever on the car." Well, that was a learning moment for my son, because number one, he had to own up to the fact that he didn't listen to the instruction I gave him. It resulted in damage to somebody's personal property, and that he was responsible for that. Now, I went with him, and obviously to fix the van, it wasn't going to come out of his budget, because he had no budget. It was going to come out of my budget.
Yeah.
But the principle was the same thing. We drop the ornament, we pay for the ornament. We damage someone's private property, we fix the private property. We own it. That's what being a good parent is. It's not teaching your child that every time they do something wrong, it's somebody else's fault. Right. It's not blaming the system. Oh, we're just picking on you because of your last name. It's because we don't like the Mings. That's why we're picking on your child. No. Or picking on me because I'm the pastor, and that's the pastor's son. No, my kid did something wrong. And when I've done stuff wrong, my dad made sure there was consequences. And consequences are good. They teach you that you have to be responsible for your behavior. And it demonstrates that you're not above the law. You break something, you fix it. You own it. You say, I did it. These are valuable lessons. And it seems like Hunter's whole life, he's had somebody covering for him and making excuses for him. Remember when the cocaine was found in the White House? We have the most highly surveilled place on planet Earth. And nobody knows where the cocaine came from.
They knew what was going on. They just don't, they don't tell the rest of us.
But this is, so we're talking about biblical parenting. Hey, parents, how about this? Stop making excuses for your kids. Make sure there's consequences, for their behavior. Hold them accountable. Teach them, not to break the law because it benefits them personally.
So, scripturally says, God disciplined those he loves.
Yes.
That's a very simple, because he loves you, he's going to discipline you. That is a biblical principle. God himself demonstrated to his people, the Israelites. He disciplined them, sometimes harshly, because he loves them. Right.
And you learn from that, and then you learn not to do whatever it is that you did. So, again, Hunter's court case here, what they found him guilty of was just a tiny fraction of a whole bunch of corruption and law breaking that he should be held accountable for.
Well, that's why the pardon was not just for the crime that was discovered. It was for everything else too.
Right.
Because they really want to halt that discovery phase.
Micah Beckwith, a good friend of ours and our current lieutenant governor, quoted Winsome Earl Sears. She is I believe, the lieutenant governor of the state of Virginia. She's a godly woman. And she weighed in this way on this whole thing. She said, on the matter of President Biden pardoning his son, it's worth reflecting the example set by a leader in the Bible who chose a different path. This is in 1 Kings 15:13. We read, King Asa removed his mother from her position as queen mother because she had made a detestable image dedicated to Asherah. Asa cut down his mother's idol, crushed it, and burned it at the Kidron Brook. And she makes the comment here, King Asa demonstrated the courage to uphold justice and moral integrity, even when it required holding a close family member accountable. While I deeply understand and respect the love of a father for his child, the presidential pardon should never be used as a tool of nepotism to shield family members when a law has been broken. Our confidence in and trust in the rule of law is the cornerstone of our democracy, and actions such as this undermine the moral standard that justice demands. Leaders must prioritize the integrity of the legal system above personal ties to ensure that the public's faith in the fairness of our governance remains unshaken. I give that a hearty amen. So let's get back to the issue. We only have a few more minutes. What is justice?
Justice is realigning our reality, our world, our messed up world, with the truth of who God is and His principles and His reality. It's a realignment. It's a rebalancing. That's how I see justice.
Yep. You know? And I think in these situations, if there is no objective standard,
yeah,
because again we have to appeal to an objective standard. Right. That's the plumb line. If there's no objective standard, everything is politicized. I mean, everything.
It's your opinion versus my opinion. When you're in charge, you're going to attack me. When I'm in charge, I'm going to attack you.
Yep.
And it's a dogfight. There's no hold bar. I mean, because it's survival of the fittest at that point. Right?
And that's why I think the caution for all of us under the Trump administration, which I don't know about you, but I'm welcoming, because especially with some of the reforming kind of candidates, or not candidates, but
cabinet members
that he's putting forth for nomination. I'm very encouraged, because they're people who have their stated purpose is to go in and clean up whatever the department is that they're going to be over. And anybody, this is my point, anybody, any American, any law-abiding citizen, anybody who cares about this great country, anybody who cares about the rule of law, should be saying, yes, where there is corruption, please expose it and pull it out. It doesn't matter to me what if you're a Democratic administration, if that's your goal, and we're Republicans or whatever, we should be saying, yay, we support that. The question then becomes, what is the standard, and what is the tool you're using to hold people accountable? And we've always been a nation under the rule of law, the Constitution, state law, Constitution, state constitutions, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we've got courts, and even here, look how politicized the courts have become, where now those are fought over, because really what you're fighting over is, what is the worldview of the person that's going to be sitting in that position as a judge. Even that's become politicized when Christ is not the center, and God's word is not the objective standard, which gets us back, we've kind of veered off of our Mere Christendom book, but that's really what Doug Wilson has been arguing for, is that if we don't get back to the truth of God's word and a biblical Christian worldview as the standard for justice, it becomes a tool that you're just going to manipulate for your own selfish good, for the good of the party, for the good of whatever, and there will be no such thing in the end as justice. Right now we've got a woman who spoke here at our church a number of years ago, Eva Edel. She's a Holocaust survivor. She is imprisoned under the Biden administration for peacefully protesting outside of an abortion clinic, and I believe it was in Ohio. So here is a 70-some-year-old woman, or maybe she's in her 80s now. I don't know her exact age, but simply standing up for the rights of the unborn. She's in jail, but Hunter Biden, whose rap sheet is a mile long, has been pardoned by his presidential father for an undisclosed crimes for a decade. And to me, that is one of the hugest travesties, miscarriages of justice. We have so many of them that we could highlight. We have all the January 6th folks that are in jail, some of whom committed no crime at all other than being at the event.
Yeah, some of them never even had a trial yet. They're just held. Yeah,
they're held again. This is the huge travesty of miscarriage of justice. Yeah. So these are the things that make the average person just sick and tired of all of this. And what it does at the end of the day is it creates civil unrest, because people basically say, screw the system. Yeah. I'm going to, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to take justice into my own hands.
Yeah.
And that's not good either. So it really is important. I think this is a great moment for us as Americans, if Donald Trump and his administration can justly and under the rule of law systematically expose corruption and remove it. He will be doing a great service to all Americans, because it will restore confidence and trust in the system once again, which isn't there right now. And so I do pray that happens, and that we.
But so far, they have respected transparency. They have just being transparent. Is all of the things that come out of Doge saying, hey, the government's been doing this and this and this and this, and this is how much they spend on this. But at the very minimal, transparency will lead to some form of clarity.
That's a very good point.
If nothing else,
Just exposing the darkness causes the cockroaches to take off running, and then you realize, wow, if they just expose this guy, I could be next. And that right there, promotes righteousness in the land. I think Wilson's point, and it's well taken. We can end with this point, but he said, the reason that you'll never see. You'll see righteousness restored. You can see righteousness restored in the public arena. But what the Bible's after is not just righteousness as a standard, but the love of righteousness, which means I not only disagree with corruption, I hate corruption. I not only value the rule of law, I love godly rulership, and I love righteous standards. There's a love in my heart for it, not just an external enforcement code. That requires the church, that requires salvation and discipleship and a move of God in our land, and that's what we want to continue to argue for, pray for, and work towards, here as God's people at Living Stones and abroad, the people of God across America and the nation of the world. So many other good things we could have got into. We got a massive scandal over transgender athletes again happening. I got to close with this because it's just our culture is amazing. You've heard of the, I think it's called, this is important because we're talking about breastfeeding for mothers. The Lalichi League, formed to teach women how to breastfeed and promote the benefits of breastfeeding for babies. Well, now this group is compromised because they now support chest feeders. Of course, a chest feeder is a man who's pretending to be a woman, and this lady just resigned because she's like, we can't even have a breastfeeding league without the LGBT trying to come in and turn it into a chest feeding league, which just doesn't work because men don't produce milk. All right. So anyway, it's just crazy what's happening. Yeah. All of this is hitting the fan, though, because you can't continue to promote insanity for very long without it ultimately hitting the fan, and praise God that it is. So anyway, in our never-ending cause for truth, justice, righteousness, the love of righteousness and the American way, we sign off. We'll look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Have an incredible week. And come on out on Sunday if you're near. We'd love to see what's happening in our facility and celebrate the Lord Jesus with us as we worship. So until then, have a great week.